How many would you, raise your hand, would you consider yourself extroverted? Okay, I'm going to assume the rest. Or the other side. Okay. So these slides and what we're going to go through today are basically a compilation of my failures and mistakes that I've had over my career. And so over time, I've been a commercial lender. That's what I'm currently. So I work with business-to-business sales. I've done business-to-consumer sales as well for the first half of my career. So a lot of the things are transferable to both. So hopefully you get some takeaways. My goal here is you at least take away one thing from this. That's always been my goal. Learn from my mistakes. So it's worth your time. It's worth my time. Even if your takeaway is that you could do this better than I can, because if that's your takeaway, Matt Barrett is in the back. Business Development Council needs more speakers on interesting topics. So that's an option as well. But let's start here. What is an introvert? So these are different. Can you all see that? Oh, you got one over there. There's different types of introverts. There's social introverts, the people that prefer small groups or just being alone. There's thinking introverts that are highly introspective, thoughtful, and imaginative. Anxious introverts that seek solitude to avoid social anxiety and feeling awkward. And restrained introverts that operate at a slower, more deliberate pace, taking time to get going. Now, you can be all of these things. You can be none of these things. You can be some of these things, but still characterize yourself as an introvert. So this is textbook. Doesn't mean that's not how you feel. So no person can be completely categorized in one box. And no one is all of these things in every situation they encounter. So is it a fluid thing? So if you feel like, gosh, this is none of me, what am I doing here? Might pertain as we go. So looking at characteristics of introverts. So there's an introspection. So generally reflective, self-aware, prefer to process information internally before speaking. Now this one I feel is a very important thing that more people should think before they talk. I view that as a positive. This has also gotten me in trouble a few times. So when you look at, it can look like you're potentially disagreeing with somebody or you're not liking a proposal because you're thinking it through. It could also look like you're not listening. And that's where my wife wants an immediate response to some things. And it's, I'm gathering information before I get that out there. And so being aware of that is key, but also, again, I think collecting yourself and being able to put that out there is important. So social preferences. They tend to prefer small, quiet social gatherings, deep conversations with close friends, rather than large parties and networking events. And energy management. Introverts tend to recharge their energy having alone time, while extroverts recharge through social interaction. So they need those people to get them going. And so knowing what you are is important in business as well as in life, of how do I get my energy back? Is it with groups, or do I need to take time for myself before I go back out into the field? So that's how you build your day. And I always thought that was an interesting phenomenon, because you could have a networking event and some people are getting charged through it and some people are being drained by it. And so being able to look around the room and it's like, well, that's an interesting phenomenon. There is an energy transfer going on there depending on who's there. But why introverts can excel in sales? This is why I was looking at management. You're looking at only hiring extroverts. That's kind of the common theme of why I want somebody outgoing, interactive, going out there shaking hands. Well, there's a lot of positives to hiring extroverts as well, or ways that you can be successful. The main thing is introverts are often strong listeners and thoughtful communicators. So you want them to know what the client is thinking. You want them to ask the right questions and sit and listen. Filling the space is key of letting dead air just hang there. In sales, I see a lot of people try to push and push while the client may be introvert and thinking about things. You just let it sit. That's a good thing that an introvert can do, is let it sit. Clients value authenticity over aggressive selling. So again, unfortunately, some extroverts can come off as pushy because, again, they have the energy. Extroverts can come off as, again, that relationship building. Preparation and empathy building, and to build trust quickly, and deep relationships outperform long, shallow networks. So again, that's what we're trying to do here. Sales is building relationships. Told Matt not to film me. Confidence. Confidence levels often masquerade as introverted. So in sales and public speaking, ask somebody out on a date, some people think that because you aren't confident in something that they're introverted. That's not the case. You get them talking about a topic that they're interested in, or they're fluent in something, and that's when you see their true personality, jump out there and thrive. Myself, you get me talking about movies or fantasy football or comic books, I'm there. You get me talking about this, and it's not the same. I've discovered that confidence is knowledge. So the more you know about a situation or a topic, the more confident you are. So like Jeffrey Williams, you have a 401k, you're sitting at a roulette table, you have to make a bet, either red or black. What percentage of your 401k are you putting in the middle there?
50-50.
You're putting 50% in? That's very confident. That's very confident. But if I told you you knew it was going to be black, 100%, it's going to be black, not red, how much are you pushing in?
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
And so you have 100% confidence. If you know the outcome, you're going to be very confident walking up to that table putting it on black. Now, there's a movie called Groundhog Day. Has everybody seen Groundhog Day? Groundhog Day, Bill Murray, he's forced to relive his life over and over again the same day. Well, he learned something new every day. He learned how people reacted to his comments, how he reacted to what he did. He learned new talents. He had the opportunity to sell the girl he was interested in, and everything that he was doing throughout the day, he was learning. And if we had the opportunity to learn as many times as we did, as he did that day, we'd have a 100% close rate, right? Because we know the outcome. We know what it took to get to the outcome desired. So it's a confidence thing, like a stand-up comic. They practice constantly, to know what jokes work, which ones don't. But here's the thing, stand-up comics don't throw out a joke just because it didn't work on the first time. They tweak it, they look at it, they're like, you know what, I'm going to run it back with a different audience, because not every audience is the same. Again, same with sales. You have to know what you're doing, you have to practice, and keep practicing so you're more confident in what you do. 100% confidence is unattainable. I think we all know that, but you can close that gap. And here's some ways that you can close that gap. Know what you're selling. As obviously, it goes without saying, it should, but not always the case in sales. But knowing all your products, knowing how they work, knowing who they're for, knowing what your target market is, how they fit with a customer's need, and who you can best serve is obviously one of the most important things. What are you looking for, and how do your products work? One of the worst questions I get are they ask me a question that I feel like I should know about my own products, and I don't know it. I make sure that I know it the next time. So that's one of those things that you dig down and you can do on the prep work. Who you're selling to. Preparation is key. Who is in the room? What do you need to know going in? What are their roles? What are their backgrounds? How long have they been there? And who's the decision maker? So again, this is the prep work that you're doing first. What questions that you want to ask? You want to ask leading questions to get the answers that you're looking for. So knowing how to handle objections. So I love this one when preparing a presentation because I'm a devil's advocate. I like to sit on the other side of the table. of why wouldn't I buy from me? And I like to poke holes in everything that I present. It's like, gosh, you know, I can get it cheaper over here. Well, what's my counter argument to that? Or I can, again, depending on what we're selling, maybe I don't need what you're selling. Like, what are we doing here? Like, try to find your objections to whatever the client may come up with. But most importantly, the last one is know where to find the answers that you don't know. I think the best thing that you could say in a client meeting is, I don't know, but I'll find out and I'll get back to you. Because a lot of people try to make up the answer, and they ruin their own credibility, and they become let me just put it this way. Your reputation and your relationships are the most important thing that you all have. Your reputations and your relationships are what take you to a different employer. It's what takes you to a different career. Those follow you. That's what you need to protect. That's what you need to honor. So if you don't know something, find out. And that comes to follow-up. We'll get to that in a second. Getting to networking is really how you think about and redefining it. Because redefining networking is a relationship building, it's not self-promotion. And when you look at the Chamber of Commerce, this is the best way I feel. You walk into a room like this, your first instinct is, I'm Carson Graff, I work for a bank, this is what I can do for you. That's not what networking should be. And this is where a strength of introverts can be, is they're good at building relationships. And that's what all of you should be doing when you go to a networking event. It's building relationships, learning about other people. Because the relationship piece of networking is the long term. It gives you the sustainability. You focus on, again, the meaningful conversations instead of volume. There's 30-something people in this room. If you have 2 or 3 good conversations, that's more powerful than everybody you shook their hands and took their card and left. So that's what I would focus on. Aim to learn about others before yourself. This is there's a fine line between trying to be relatable and taking over the conversation. So if Lisa's telling me about she got in a car accident, and I said, oh gosh, I got a car accident last week also. It's easy for me to say, yeah, I was turning into Quick Trip, and then they T-boned me and they came around the other side, and then I just shifted the focus onto me. Or I could say, oh, I got in a car accident, what happened with you? And turn it back to them. So I've now related, oh gosh, we're in the same boat here, but focus is still on Lisa. So that's, I'm always aware of it when I do it. I'm always aware that, oh shoot, I'm talking about Carson again. Like, how do I get this back on you? It's not easy to do, but once you recognize that that's something that naturally people like to talk about themselves, you know, you can try to keep the focus onto somebody, and that's what you're going to learn. You're going to learn more about them and create quality connections that create long-term opportunities. So here's some networking strategies. So attend smaller events or niche groups when possible. There's a lot of different groups that can specialize in things that I always like to target people that are talking to the same people that I want to. So if there's an industry that I know works with, again, my target market, I want to talk to their vendors. I want to talk to their customers because we can share and pool ideas. Set realistic goals, like I mentioned, of 2 to 3 meaningful conversations at each event that you go to. I don't know how many people, I like movies. I don't know if you guys picked up on that yet. But Superman, have you seen Man of Steel, Henry Cavill, a few years ago? There's a scene where Superman is a little boy, and his powers are starting to turn on. And he starts to hear, his super hearing starts to hear everything. He's hearing everybody's voice in the whole building. He's hearing pin drops and the clock ticking and people's heartbeats, and it's just overwhelming. He runs and hides in a closet. And his mom comes, and she's like, hey, what can I do for you? And he said, the world's too big, Mom. And she said, well, make it small. Focus on my voice. And so then he was able to bring it in. You walk into a networking event of 150 people, make it small. These are the 3 guys I want to talk to. This is my focus for this event. That's it. This is too many for me. I want to be here. And truly, I feel like that's a better way to do it anyway, introverted or extroverted. Because again, those quality relationships come out of that. Prepare opening questions ahead of time. So we're going to get to some questions here of how to start a conversation in networking, but have those locked and loaded in your mind and ready to go. Take short breaks to recharge during events. There's some all-day events. Chamber does a good job of having smaller segmented events throughout the day, but it gives you a little break between. And then follow up with people that you meet. I think this one's important. I think this is what most people don't do, is follow up. And I'm going to give a shout out to Matthew Scholl. He just happens to be here in the audience. I don't think there's an individual that I have come across that does follow up better than Matthew. We're talking client meetings, you give a referral, you meet him at a networking event, you get a thank you card, a nice to meet you card, good to see you card in the mail. Summarizing conversation, handwritten, came from him. That's what I always said it would be a great idea if I did. What Carson didn't do 20 years ago was implement that into my daily life. I didn't make that a process. I didn't make that a priority in my day to make sure that here's time that I've carved out to do that. And I've known Matthew for 10 plus years now and worked together a lot. I tell him, I don't need a card. We're friends. Just shoot me a text. We're good. It's still nice to get when I get it. So, but glad you're here. But that, and the follow-up, that matters. You know, taking that time to, if you do it via email, and what, again, Matthew does well, is it summarizes the conversation that you had. It was, this is what I heard we talked about. And it gives me an opportunity to say, actually, I didn't say I wanted to retire at 65, it was 73, you know, and they can make that tweak. But it's in a sales spot, this is what I heard. This is what I wrote down. This is what I'm going to present on the next time that we meet. And that will save you a step of putting together a whole presentation that is inaccurate, because maybe you misheard something. And so, again, building those types of practices into your sales process may take a little bit more time on the front end, but could save you a bunch of time on the back end. So, thank you, Matthew. Plug. I'll expect my thank you card in the mail.
With a reiteration of this.
Yeah. Summarize this. Yeah. So, questions to ask. So, in getting into a networking event, it's often, how do we start a conversation? And I understand the irony of asking this group, you know, what kind of questions to ask when meeting somebody, but if you have any, shout out. You're just meeting somebody for the first time, what would you say in a chamber event?
What do you do?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Boom, there's one.
What do you do? We still don't know what Rick does.
Still don't know what Rick does. He's still working on that.
Oh, sometimes that's where they went to school.
Where'd you go to school?
For ladies, sometimes it's a compliment on what they're wearing.
Okay.
If they have a name tag that says their business, you might say, what got you into that business? What inspired you to get into that? And what do you like most about it?
Good. Yes. Anything else?
You could ask about the family, kid, yourself, just ask a little bit about their background.
I'm glad you brought that up. I don't want to put you on the, I'm glad I'm not glad at the same time. So, no, you set me up. So I think there's good questions to ask, and I think there's bad questions to ask. And I'm going to use the word bad, even though people say there's no such things. Perfect example. Perfect example. I mean,
Go to church on Sunday?
another one. So everybody knows, in sales, religion and politics you don't bring up. But there's some others. There's, are you married? Do you have kids? Seemingly innocent questions. You see me wearing a ring. It could be married. But what you don't know, again, if you just met this person first time, you don't know what's happening in their life. Wife could have just left. Wife could have passed away. You ask about children. Maybe there's infertility issues. Maybe they lost a child. Maybe they're estranged from their children. You may have just asked something about the worst point in that person's life that could have ended the conversation earlier than you wanted to. It could have potentially stopped a relationship from building. So there's ways to get to those answers without necessarily focusing on key points of people that are painful. And it gets to empathy. Now, it's the ability to recognize, understand, and share the feelings and perspectives of another person. This is especially hard when you know nothing about this person other than their name and their company, potentially on their name badge. Now, there's a lot of people that say, I don't care if I offend people, it's just the way that I am. Fine. I would argue that that's a bad business move. It's bad in sales. Because now you've just limited the people that think like you and had the same life experiences of you. And that's a very small pool. So these are the type of questions that you said a lot of these. What brought you to this event? Jeffrey invited me. How long have you known Jeffrey? I'm building off of how they answered the question. Oh, we've known each other for 6 years. Our kids play soccer together. He thought I should come here. Oh, you have kids. That's the way they brought it up. I'm going to build on it. How'd you get started in your field? Oh, I went to school at UCM, and they gave me a major, and I've just been in it ever since. It's like, but asking where'd you go to school? Maybe they didn't. Maybe that's a pain point for them. Maybe they feel they're being talked down to. But you get them to reveal things about themselves to build on it. So I call these safe questions. Anybody can be offended by any question. I get that, but there's ways to. Again, you all are learning from my mistakes. So I've done these things, and I've learned why not to do these things. I've been in situations that have caused me to reevaluate my process. There's things like, what trends are you seeing in Jeffrey Williams' health insurance? I pick on Jeffrey. I know he's an extrovert, so he doesn't care that I'm pointing him out. And he's sitting right here in front of me. So it's like what trends in your industry, are changing? What are you seeing lately? He'd love to talk about that, because that's what he's doing. If you want to get on a more personal level, what are your plans for the weekend? I'm going to take the kids out on the boat. Oh, you have kids. Still don't know if they're married yet. It used to be taboo to assume that if they had kids, now it's like, okay, they may not be married, but you just assume a spouse. What do you do for fun? I could tell you a lot of things. There's a lot of follow-up questions to that. You can get a conversation going, and they're going to give you a lot of information that you're building from and tracking. If we had insurance people, right? If I'm selling life insurance and I'm trying to get to, do we have kids? Do we have a spouse? I'm trying to get, maybe even, do we own a home? I'm adding what my death benefit might be in my head, for them. Oh, how old are your kids? They're 8 and 6. Okay, you got time. You should have life insurance. I'm asking questions leading to the answers that I'm hoping to get to come back to another day. But I know those questions. That was part of the be prepared when you go, of what are you trying to get to. I want to know if Kirby owns his own building, that he operates his business out of. I can get there eventually with it seeming like normal conversation. That there's knowing your products, your industry, without selling them, oh, Kirby, if you do know somebody that has a commercial building, is very different than me finding out naturally through conversation and building that relationship. And so these are safe ways. I call them safe ways. I love this one. What's the best part of your day? You get all sorts of answers there. It's wild. A lot of them is when I get to go home, you know, and then get to go home, watch TV. Hey, what do you watch on TV? You know, you can build from there. Or, you know, seeing my daughter. You know, then you get, oh, you have a daughter. How old is she? You know, you get these answers that you're looking for, again, without hitting somebody over the head with something that unexpected. Again, and you can be completely oblivious to it before, during, and after. And so that's one of those things that I like to make sure that I start there and I build from the information that I'm given from them. So prospecting without feeling pushy. Again, it's rethinking of what prospecting means. Oftentimes when people think of outbound calls, it's, I don't like outbound calls. I feel like I'm bothering somebody. I don't like doing outbound calls. You get that mental block of what that means. But I view prospecting as helping. Because if I can't help somebody with what I'm offering, then what am I even doing? Like, somebody has a need for what I'm selling, and I'm trying to find that. If I can't get them a better price, or if I can't get them a product that they haven't thought about, I'm trying to find the need, and maybe they don't know what I know about it. And so that's my mindset of, I've never been introduced, you know, to Kirby before, but I feel like I can help him. That's my mindset when I reach out to somebody. Not that I'm bothering and I'm trying to hit a quota and a number. And this helps because you're researching your prospects beforehand, before you call. I know all I can about Kirby before I even pick up the phone or send an email. I want to do my research on what I'm doing, because I only get one true shot at Kirby to make a first impression. And if I know what I'm wanting to get out before he shuts me down, that's a much easier twist than you're cold, I'm cold, there's nothing there. Personalized emails and messages. I think it's important to have templates to make your life easier, but you got to personalize those. Because how many do you get that you just, oh, this looks canned and I'm not even going to bother getting to the third sentence of this email because this goes to everybody in the room. So personalize, and personalize early if you're going to do it via email. I say calls. I like calls. The demographic that I reach out to, I think, still enjoys getting a phone call. Depending on who you're working with, some people don't answer the phone anymore. Some people will chastise you for leaving a voicemail, you know, depending on what generation that you're calling. Like, if that number is not already logged in their phone, they're not answering it. You got no shot at it. No matter how many times you call, every Tuesday at 9 a.m., like, it's never going to happen. So knowing who you're calling and how they receive information is also key. So if you're going to personalize emails or texts, some people just would actually prefer texts over emails. Again, it's making sure that it's personalized to them and how you got to them. Again, you lead with value or insight. I always try to, my goal in every meeting is to make sure that I brought some sort of value, whether they become a client of mine or not. It's maybe something they didn't know about the industry, maybe something they didn't know about a product that they have or that is available out there, but at least somebody learned something so it wasn't a waste of time. So I know the value that I'm bringing to the table, or hopefully some insight of recent industry news. And not just my industry, but theirs. So I'm doing my research on who I'm trying to sell. If I'm looking for a manufacturing client as a bank, I'm learning what's going on in their world. So are you aware that this is coming? Will this affect you? You know, anything from, you know, tariffs to local suppliers, you know, anything that might be relevant to bring up in that meeting is important to know before going in. Getting the affirmative from existing clients, I think, is probably the most powerful thing that you can do in prospecting, is to know why they're your clients. Why are you here? Why did you sign up with me? Like, why me? I don't think there is any industry specific in the room as far as you all have competitors, especially in Lee Summit. You all have a lot of competitors. They have options. I come at from a banking standpoint. There are 36 different banks in Lee Summit alone, different, not branches, different banks. So why did you choose Carson over someone else? I want to know that. And maybe it's just rate. Great. Okay, so I got a good rate. I beat the other rates that you're. Maybe it's me personally. Maybe it's the full package that I'm offering. But I want to know that because that's what I'm going to present to somebody else. And so again, know those things, and it's going to be different for everybody. So ask your clients. Use consistency instead of intensity. Again, I come back to Matthew's example. He's consistent when he thanks people in his process. It's a known thing, so people rely on that. If I get down to my referrals, if Jeffrey refers me to Kirby, and I don't treat Kirby the same as I did Jeffrey, it's like, wait, this should be the same. I referred you because I want him to have the same service that I offered. And so consistent in your process will provide consistent service, over to Kirby. And referrals are king. Referrals will always be king. To get a referral, that's the cream of the crop, because you have a name of somebody who is happy with you, referring you to someone else, because at least they'll listen to the next 4 lines out of your mouth. I worked with Matthew. Like, oh, okay, and then I give my neck before they click, because there's a transfer of trust with the referral. I think you all know that. Is now they don't know me, but they do know Matthew. So this is my prospecting referral list. It was always difficult for me to ask for referrals at the end of a meeting. So what I did was I created a referral list beforehand. I looked at, and this is part of the research of knowing your client, I looked at customers they worked with, I looked at clients they had, social contacts, industry peers, business partners they work with, boards that they're on with other people. Basically, you can find out anything you want to about somebody with the internet. I mean, social stalking is what I call it. I know that they know these people. I put maybe 10 or 15 names on a list. I mean, maybe throw in some dream clients that I know they probably don't know, but maybe there's a connection. You kind of throw it out there. Oh yeah, and Clark Hunt, you throw them at the bottom. Maybe they know. Maybe they're at high school with him. I don't know. But I present this list at the end of the meeting of, Jeffrey, here are some people that I'm planning on calling. Do you know any of them? And do you mind telling me anything you know about them? And so this is one, it's doing a couple things. Jeffrey's not giving me any names. He knows that I'm calling them already. Now he's just trying to help me out. So he's going through, okay, yeah, I know that guy, married, 2 kids, lives south of town, owns blah, blah, blah. This guy, he goes through the list. I don't know them. I met them once and they friended me on Facebook. I don't know who they are other than that. Okay, that's not a strong referral source. And goes through, I don't know them. Great. Have my list. Looking at it, and I go, anybody on this that's not on this list that you feel like I should reach out to? So now he's already in the mindset of people that look like the ones that I want. So I'm already putting his distributors on there. There's distributors that I don't know that he has. He's like, well, you know what? If you're calling this concrete company, maybe you should call Max over here at this concrete company. It's like, okay, so his mindset's already focused on the people that I'm looking for to build my clients. And at the end, I said, well, thank you, appreciate it. Jeffrey, do you mind if I mention that we know each other when I give them a call? And there's my link. And if Jeffrey says, actually, I prefer you not use my name, then list is trash, and I move it over here. But I know some of these people. Maybe somebody else, can refer me into him now that I have more information. Most people say, oh yeah, sure, give him a call. Or not this guy, his brother does what you do, or cross that off. My name's not going to go anywhere with them, and they'll help you qualify your list. But when I reach out to Kirby, I say, hey Kirby, Carson Graff, recently met with Jeffrey Williams. He said some great things about you. Like to introduce myself sometime. You get exactly that. You get all sorts of answers. You get all sorts of answers. Oh, I owe him money. Things like, things like that. But he said some great things about you. Makes Kirby feel well. Reflects positively on Jeffrey. He listens to the next 4 sentences that I'm going to say. And so that's a cheat of making Carson ask for referrals, because I put in the work beforehand. So not only did I do research on my client, so I now know a lot more about Jeffrey, but I already did the work. And it's sitting here as the last page in my presentation, just staring at me. So now I'm going to ask. So it forces me to ask. Of these, again, I'm calling these people already. And so it takes the burden off of Jeffrey. I didn't give him your name, and I didn't say Jeffrey gave me your name. I said, he said some great things about you. Let's meet. And so that gets me in the door. So that was my cheat code to when I meet with people. But again, it comes into the research part, it comes in the prepping, and you get what you put into it. So here's a workflow on, make sure I missed that. There we go. A prospecting workflow. So you're identifying the people that you want to meet. You're researching the pain points and goals of those people and those industries. You're sending personalized outreach, however you feel in your demographic that you're looking for. Follow up respectively, and track conversations. Tracking is key, because if you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you, you got to do that. Because again, do what you say you're going to do. Again, it comes back to that reputation piece. And so you could have 5 meetings in a day and not remember. You have to carve off those times to write down what you said you're going to do and what you committed to in a meeting. And that's the tracking of the conversations. So some people record. I've seen those services that talk to text. You can do that now to yourself. As soon as you get in your car after your meeting, everything that you remember, word vomit into that, email it to yourself, and you try to decipher what you said at the end of the day. But it's an easy way now with the talk to text that you can just, again, send that to yourself. So again, you can help you with your follow-up. Techniques that fit introverts in sales. Asking thoughtful questions. Again, there are a lot of surface level questions, but if you ask, I try to do 3 questions deep. So, what do you do? How'd you get into this field? Oh, that's good. That's interesting. Then you ask a question about that, and then you ask a question about that. The level of deepness builds that relationship far beyond what most people do, most competitors do, most just people in general do, because again, people like to talk about themselves, and some of the best conversation feedback that I've ever gotten, I probably said 4 words. I let them talk. Oh, we had a great time. I didn't say a thing. I just let them talk about themselves, and they had a great impression of Carson, and that's great. But there's the thoughtful questions. Again, I always try each about your business. How long have you been doing this? And get one more question in, and then one more question deep on that subject before I shift gears into other things I'm looking to know. Listen more than you speak. Focus on solving problems. I feel like sales is 100% a problem-solving business. It's teaching and problem solving. This is your issue. This is what we can offer to fix that. You pick. I'm not selling you anything. You told me the problem that you have, or this is a problem that we've identified together. Here are all the ways that we can solve it. Some are more expensive than others. Which one do you want? Pause before responding. Again, this is where introverts thrive. Let them think. If you keep talking, you move them off what they're thinking. Let the air breathe. Use calm confidence instead of pressure. Again, sitting in chairs silently is far more powerful, I think, than leaning up and trying to get somebody to sign. You're just waiting. And again, I think you'll get a lot more out of that. Handling objections with confidence is knowing what they could be. Comes back to the devil's advocate. If you know what you're going into, you know what the objections are going to be, that's what you prepare for. So the first thing is to stay curious instead of defensive. No, I don't want that. It sounds like you've had a bad experience. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Well, BMO sued my brother 2 years ago, and I refused to ever work with them again. Well, I know this isn't a battle that I'm going to get over. So as long as I work at BMO, and they're obviously against that, I know that it's not okay, I'll put you on my follow-up in 3 months, because he's going to have that same feeling. If it's I just don't have the time to do it. There's, how about I follow up in 3 months? Is it okay if I give you a call? Those types of things. Why they're saying no is far more important than that they said no, in my mind. And again, the more questions that you ask, you can break it down of maybe they had a bad experience that had nothing to do with you or your product at all, that you have a solution for. I tried that and it did this and it messed up our whole system. Well, we have this that prevents that. Oh, that'd be interested. Would you be interested in learning a little bit more about that if I can show you that this works? Okay, you get those. But again, it's diving a little bit deeper than accepting the yes, and that's clarifying the real concern. Acknowledging the prospect's perspective. I feel that putting yourself, again, in their shoes makes them feel comfortable and makes them understand, if BMO sued my brother, I wouldn't want to work with him either. And understand that, yeah. But again, I don't know their situation or whatnot. I can tell you, my relationship with you, and this is what I can do. But acknowledging their situation. I bring that up. That just happened. That's an objection that I got last week, so that's why it's fresh in my mind. Don't know how to get around that. Still working on BMO suing my brother. Accepting all suggestions.
Well, 3 months, you can call back with a different name.
True. Know when to walk away professionally. And that's a key word there is professionally. Relationships, again, are what you're protecting, your relationships and your reputation. Heritage Benefits doesn't exist anymore. May have had a bad reputation with Heritage Benefits, but Jeffrey doesn't work at Heritage Benefits anymore. They bought out, gone. And so, but Jeffrey's still here. Jeffrey's still selling same stuff, essentially, to simplify your job. Yeah, there you go. But walking away professionally, he have a positive relationship with Jeffrey. He just refuses to work with Heritage Benefits. Well, Jeffrey can call back, new company, new options. This is what we can do. If it's a no, never because I hate Jeffrey, different story, right? Energy management. This comes back to the introvert, extrovert conversation. Knowing how you recharge yourself. So schedule recovery time after a meeting, if you need it. Like I said, if you're getting charged by these meetings, set them closer together. If you know yourself needs a break before you can get yourself back up for the next one, make sure you schedule that in your day. Avoid overbooking networking events. If that's something that gives you anxiety, you got to know that. You got to know how to work with that. And you can use things like virtual networking. They're out there. I don't think it's as effective as in-person networking, but there are groups that do virtual networking out there. And maybe that's a way that you feel more comfortable behind a keyboard, that you can get introduced to people before you go and get introduced to them. Again, these aren't selling opportunities, they're getting to know people opportunities that can breed selling. Create routines and to reduce social fatigue. We've talked about that. Again, protect your focus time for preparation. Don't put your prep time an hour before your meeting. Undoubtedly, something will eat into it, or you'll need more time than you plan for. Like, have a day or two before your actual meeting that you schedule your prep time. Probably don't put it on a Friday afternoon. It's easy to say, I'll kick that to next week. But have a dedicated time that I'm prepping for my meetings and I'm doing this pre-work on my calendar that I'm keeping sacred. So that's a piece of this is when I do my thank you notes. I don't know how you do them or when you do them. If they're on a special time of day or on Thursdays, that's what I do. But that's your calendar can affect your mood. So schedule it to how you can work. So tools, habits for success, a CRM tool. If your organization doesn't have one, you got to make one up for yourself. And as rudimentary as an Excel spreadsheet of tracking who you talk to, when you talk to, and what was said is extremely necessary if you're going to have any sort of success and long-term follow-up. Because follow-up, again, is one of the most important things you can do is doing what you say you're going to do. And if I say, Kirby, it's not today, but do you mind if I call you in 6 months and see if anything has changed? Yeah, you can do that. It's a no today, but yeah, you can do that. Well, if I don't call Kirby in 6 months, then I didn't do what I said I was going to do. What's he going to think of me in my profession? So I need to put down in my CRM, I'm going to call Kirby in 6 months. And then when I call him, I said, remember we talked? You said reach out again in 6 months, and here we are. Nope, nothing's changed. How about we kick it another 6 months? Deal. But again, you do that. Again, you're honoring your word and you're doing what you say you're going to do. You'll see definite benefits there. Again, the daily preparation and reflection, continuous learning and practice. Continuous learning is very important. Not just, again, we talked a little bit about this before, not just your industry, but your target industry. If I'm looking at the challenges, if I'm selling health insurance and I want to target manufacturing, I need to know what the daily challenges are manufacturing companies. Or if I'm, again, health insurance to, who'd you sell last to? Type of company?
Fire suppression company.
A what?
Fire suppression company.
Fire suppression company. They probably have different challenges than a CPA firm. So there's knowing what you're doing, knowing your industry and all changes. And again, health insurance changes daily. So knowing that, but also knowing your desired target market is something that you have to constantly make time for. Doing it and making time for it are completely different things, or knowing to do it. Celebrate small wins consistently. Sales cycles for certain businesses are extremely long. Some are short. Celebrate referrals. Celebrate setting appointments. I got a yes today. Obviously celebrate the sales, but break down what it is that you say, today was a success for me. I have a calendar of, I want to keep 3 appointments a day. But I also want to set 3 appointments. I call it my rule of 6. So if I have 6 appointments in a day, I don't have to set any. If I have no appointments in that day, I need to set 6 before I go home. If I'm done at noon, great. That's a successful day for Carson. The next day, I could have 3 appointments. Okay, I need to set 3. Whatever my rule of 6 is, that makes for my successful day, I may not make a sale all week, but I did the activity that I needed to do to be successful. So whether it's having appointments or setting appointments, gosh, 2 people canceled on me today. I need to set 2 more to make my rule of 6. Does that make sense? I explain my rule. And that's knowing your numbers. My rule of 6 gets back to knowing your numbers of what do I have to do? What do I have to sell to get to what my goal is? So it takes me 3 meetings a day to get to X amount of premium that's going to hit my bonus, or X amount of loans, or X amount of sales. I need to know what those numbers are. And the way you know those is by tracking. It goes back to the CRM system. If you tracked how many people that you talk to get to this result over a period of time, you're going to get predictable numbers. Now, there are industry standards, but you may be different than what your industry is. But the only way you know that is if you're tracking. I'm a little bit better than industry standards. It only takes me 4 meetings a week or a day to get to, not 6, to get to where I need to go. Great. My market may be a little bit more affluent. I only need to do 1 a day to get to the goal that I'm trying to. But knowing your numbers is very important. The only way you can know them is by tracking. Key takeaways. You don't need to be an extroverted to succeed in sales. I actually think it's the opposite. Authenticity and preparation are your competitive advantages. Strong listening builds trust and credibility. Consistent relationship building drives long-term growth. I did miss a few things on the networking that I wasn't sure I was going to have time for, but we have a little bit here. Networking buddies. You get into a room of 100 people and it's your first time there and you don't know anybody. It can be pretty daunting, especially at things like chamber events. I always say, put everything on your calendar of a chamber event, go to each one at least once, and see how it can work for your business. So maybe a luncheon is more your style because you basically have just 6 people at your table. You get to chat with those 6 people for a little bit, you kind of get to know them, and then the presentation starts. It's not all on you. Ribbon cuttings, usually a smaller event. You get to know people a little bit differently. They take your picture, send it out to the whole membership. Eventually you see the same people. You're like, I know them, I've seen you somewhere. You use those events of this one works for me, this one doesn't. Maybe I'm going to host an event. I can't get out as much. I'd like to bring something to me. Maybe hosting and you get 30 people and 30 contacts to come to your business. But maybe a committee is a better way to do it. I have a long-term sales. I know the Oktoberfest committee is surrounded by people that are my target market. I'm going to get involved there and just get to know them. I'm not selling to them. I'm getting to know them and they get to know me and build those relationships. But I always say go to them at least once and see how they can fit to your business. Now, an introvert into a room of 150 people at a luncheon, again, can be daunting. When I started, I had a chamber buddy, and a chamber buddy that I knew was going to the same events that I was going to, because I'd send him an email, say, hey, let's go to this one. I'm like, all right. But the key thing of the chamber buddy, it was somebody in an industry that had nothing to do with what I did. I sold financial services, he sold paper. People that we were talking to, it wasn't and bankers, I'm going to pick on you, they're notorious for going to things together and staying together. And that's a more intimidating approach to somebody new, is now you're getting tag teamed by 2 people from the same bank. And it's hard to get away from that. Now, you can obviously go to the same event, but find other chamber buddies. But one of the things that Chris and I did, because he was in the same boat as me, was we stood by the food. Stood by the drinks. Everybody came by the food, everybody came by the drinks. And we would chat and talk to somebody. It was easier for Carson to say, hey, have you met my friend Chris? Than it was for me to say, hey, I'm Carson. It's a weird mental thing. But as we talked, we found out, is this a potential client for Carson? Or is this a potential client for Chris? One of us kind of peeled away and let those conversations go. And it was one of those things that it was easier for me to get to know more people. Now, I don't know if this is your first, I should have asked. I don't know how many people have been to multiple chamber events. If this is one of your first, you feel like everybody already knows each other. It's not the case. There's a lot of people that know each other just because we kept showing up. And eventually you keep showing up and you get past the pleasantries of what do you do, and you get to know them on a deeper level and you get to know their lives. So I encourage you to keep showing up and keep doing these things because that's how you build the long-term relationships. Met Jeffrey Williams in the Young Professionals in 2007. It's been a long time. I don't think we had a referral or did business till 10 years later. But we know each other. I trust if I get a referral from Jeffrey, I know that's a good referral for me. It's a transfer of trust. Like that's a good thing. Again, met Matthew at the we dissolved that committee, not membership committee. We went around and introduced ourselves to other chamber members at the time. I was his mentor, and we did that together 15 years ago. So that's where we met. Things working out. So it's different committees can meet different people that maybe you normally wouldn't otherwise. But here's my parting. Let's go fly a kite. Who knows what that's from? Mary Poppins. Yes. I sing this to my daughter every night before bed. Do you know what part of the movie this is in? Yep. It's at the end. Do we know why they're singing? So George Banks is their father, never around, always at work, right? Mary Poppins taught them all how to have fun, do their thing. This is what George Banks did. His idea of fun was go fly a kite. Took his kids with him, flying a kite out there, singing "Let's Go Fly a Kite." I don't know how well you all know the movie. His boss is out there flying a kite. It gives them a promotion there as they're standing out there having fun. My key takeaway, this is all very important. This is how you get paid, but this is how you get paid to do the fun stuff. The fun stuff helps you here. So the work-life balance is very important. Don't forget to go fly your kite, whatever makes you happy, because that'll reflect in your work. So work-life balance is a need, not a I hope to do that later. Take the time now. Again, it'll reflect in how well you do. That's what I got. Any questions, comments, suggestions? Okay.